Well, it's looking like a kind of wet and rainy day outside. Normally that wouldn't really stop me from doing anything outside, but I actually have stuff to do indoors today. I've already been cleaning. I cleared off my counter space. I'm not going to talk about that. But what I do want to talk about is everything that's going on over in this corner of the room. So this is the boat design that I've been working on. I'm going to be continuing that later today and probably later in this video. But first, I have to get to what's going on with this box. So you can see I have this older boat design that I'd been working on building a model of, and I needed a bigger containment area. So I used to have a small containment area that I used for painting that boat, and now I'm using a containment area that's a little bit bigger so that boat will fit in it and I can complete the model and hopefully start selling those designs online again. So you can see I have my fan hooked up. All those seams are taped up. Obviously cardboard does let some fumes through, but I'm not too worried about it today anyways because I'm mostly just going to be using vinegar, sort of. We'll get to that in a minute. You can see I pulled out the baffle just so I have a little bit more room. I'm not going to be doing any spray painting. As you can see, the baffle didn't entirely do its job, and I spray painted the inside of the fan anyways, but you know, that's just kind of how things go. So anyways, this is a stitch and glue sailboat. This model is actually a quarter scale and everything is exactly the scale, including the thickness of this wood. And that makes it a very useful model. It shows how the construction is done. And even though I don't have space to build the real thing, I'm hoping this model will show people that this is a viable design and that they can actually build the real thing. I've actually had this boat design company that I've had for a while. The idea is that I sell boat plans to people that want to build boats of their own. And I would just sell them the plans. They would just be stock plans, so it wouldn't eat up all my time doing customer support, that type of thing. So that was the idea. And I had about 3 or maybe 4 designs up on that website, and it was enough to actually keep the website running. People would buy the plans, but very few people actually built them that I know of anyways. Most people, they would buy the plans and I'd never hear from them again. And it would hold a lot of people back from buying future plans because they weren't confident that this was an actual boat. There was no prototype, nothing. I don't have the room to build an actual prototype. I just don't have access to that kind of real estate in Seattle. So the idea behind this model was to show the process of building the boat, show that it's a viable design, and then hopefully people will build more of those designs. So this project is at the construction stage where all the major panels have been cut out. This is called stitch and glue, where you cut panels out of sheets of plywood. You stitch them together with wire like this, and then you use fiberglass and epoxy to radius corners and glue it all together. It makes for a very strong and very lightweight design. It's actually lighter than standard fiberglass designs. It's not as lightweight as some more advanced composites, but it's very suitable to the person trying to build their boats at home. So my goal for today is I need to clean this, and I'm hoping I can radius some of the joints on the seat here and on this back seat back here. Okay, so here is what I'm using to remove the mold off of the boat. So vinegar, especially stronger concentrations, works really well. I found some vinegar that was more concentrated online. It was way cheaper to buy it in the 75% solution. I need about 15%. 5% is actually what you normally use for cooking, things like that. So this is pretty strong stuff. You can see it dilutes to 3.75 gallons out of this bottle. I don't know what concentration, but you know, whatever. People have recommended about 10-15% solution for mold removal. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do all this in this area, just kind of use it like a hood. It is vinegar, it's not toxic, but at 75% concentration, it is, you know, very corrosive, obviously. And I don't really want to be breathing that stuff in, and it smells apparently very strong once I remove the cap. So making sure this is a well-ventilated area is very important. But I will only have this bottle open for a very short amount of time. These gloves are suitable for the concentration of vinegar that I'm using. And so let's get that mixed up. I just need some water, and then I can just add the vinegar to it. All right, there we go, we have the water. Also, in case you're wondering about the other uses for vinegar, cleaning vinegar in 10-15% solution is pretty common. It's non-toxic, although slightly smelly. You can also use concentrations that are higher, like this stuff, for weed removal. So people use this as an herbicide. It's, again, not toxic to the environment. It breaks down very quickly, but it is strong enough to kill weeds. This is the approximate concentration I needed. This is about 15% acetic acid, and I'm surprised that it's a little bit cloudy. I'm not really sure why that is, but that is the concentration, and I'm going to test it out on this little piece of wood here, which is the same wood that I used to build that model. And so I want to make sure that it's not going to damage or delaminate the wood when I try to apply it. So I'm not seeing any harmful effects to the wood. It dried very quickly, and so I think this is the way to go. This should kill off any mold that I have left on the boat. So when I do encapsulate it, the mold isn't going to spread. It's probably going to die off anyways once I encapsulate it, but I just want to make sure. So there we have it. So one of the big advantages of using vinegar to kill mold, especially on a porous surface like wood, is that vinegar will soak in and kill everything that's underneath as well as the stuff on the surface. You can also use something like bleach, but bleach is toxic and it releases toxic fumes, so you don't really want to be breathing that stuff in, and it's not as effective. It looks good, and it probably looks even better for the surface stuff, but it doesn't soak into the material and it doesn't get what's underneath. So that's why I use vinegar to kill mold. Anyways, I'm gonna let that dry, and while that's drying, I have another product that I'm gonna work on. Okay, so let's talk really quick about my computer setup. So I've been actually using my iPad Pro for all video editing, any audio editing that I do, a lot of engineering stuff, and it works really, really well for most things. There's just a handful of things that it can't do. And so I have my computer from 2011. It's obviously fairly vintage. I spent quite a while trying to get it to boot up and work properly on the newest operating system, and I got it to mostly do that. I have to leave it off because it won't go to sleep for some reason, so I still have to figure that problem out, but otherwise it works. I can connect to the internet, but I don't really need it for that much, and at some point I'm gonna have to replace both of those things. The iPad Pro is from 2020. It's actually a 2018 design, and so it is getting up there in age. It's not going to be supported for that much longer. That iMac is from 2011. It hasn't been supported for about 3 or 4 years now, and so a lot of applications just won't work on it. What I'm thinking I'll probably end up doing is waiting until this iPad here gets to the point where it's no longer being supported by Apple. Then I'm going to upgrade that. I don't know if I'm actually going to replace my iMac with another laptop or large computer like this. I might just actually keep it. I'll probably switch it over to running on Linux. The Mac operating system just doesn't run on it that well anymore. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, but for now, I'm leaving it in this configuration. I don't actually have internet. I have cell phone data, which is what I use. I have 5G both on my iPad and on my iPhone. And it works just fine. It's not the fastest, but it does everything I need it to do. One thing that I can't do with my iPad, at least not easily, is design sails for that boat, or actually even do the layout for sails for that boat. So that is one thing that my large iMac can do that my iPad just can't. And so that's what I'm gonna do right now, fire up the iMac, and we're gonna do a little bit of sail design. Well, despite my best efforts, I am going to have to replace my computer. So my computer is just too old. I tried upgrading it. There are kind of patches to make things work out there online. I tried most of them. Nothing seems to actually work. I can get the computer running, sort of, but it can't connect to the internet. I can't control the screen brightness. There's all kinds of things that just don't work anymore. So I decided to finally break down and order a new computer for the first time in 13 years. And it is a long time coming. I should have done this a long time ago, but I'm kind of glad I waited, because I think I found the perfect computer that's going to replace my current one, and that will allow me to finish up the sail design project. I just can't get the software to run properly, and I can't get it off of my computer properly without a new computer. So that's just what's going to have to happen. It does happen periodically where you do have to replace equipment, unfortunately. But you know, I made it 4 years just living with my iPad and iPhone, and it actually worked pretty well for about 90% of the things I do. It works perfectly. For the other 10%, well, that was a problem. Okay, so here is the boat hull that I have been working on. You can see that it looks basically the same as when you last saw it, and it definitely smells different. You don't smell as much mold on it anymore. It smells more like vinegar instead of mold, which is exactly what we want. I may have to treat a few parts of it again, especially this part here. You can't really see it on camera, but there is this kind of gray haze of mold across the top surface there. And so I'm gonna run over that again with some of that vinegar solution. And hopefully that should finish killing it off, but it already smells a lot better. The other thing with vinegar is that it doesn't change the color like bleach does. So part of the reason why people think bleach works so well is because it actually, you know, bleaches and takes the color out of the mold. That's not how vinegar works. Vinegar will kill the mold, but the color from the mold can still remain. So depending on how this boat turns out and how it ends up looking, I may end up actually painting it, but that's okay. It's just a prototype. Okay, so here's the part that I'm going to start gluing together right now. So I made this little fillet device. It's just a radius on my 3D printer a few weeks ago now. And basically what I'm going to do is take thickened epoxy and create a radius in between these two surfaces. Actually, all of these surfaces in all these corners here, it's going to have this radius. And this radius was actually calculated to be the right radius to use. So hopefully that works out properly. We'll find out. It probably will. And eventually that'll get fiberglass, but I don't have any fiberglass on me at the moment. That's okay. I don't need it yet. Once that's done, I'll do the same thing on this side. The one thing that I'm doing, which really seems to help with these epoxies, is to heat them up. Okay, I might have gotten a little carried away there and melted the container. I'm gonna have to try this again. Well, anyways, as I was saying, I do like to heat up the epoxy a little bit. Try a little bit lower setting this time and a little bit further away. But heating up the epoxy and hardener mixture really does help it set up. And it does make it kick off a lot faster, so you have less time to work with it. But I think it's completely worth it because it always cures a lot better. Okay, so I have completed the fillets on the inside of the seats. They turned out pretty well, a little bit of a mess kind of around them, so it doesn't matter for these parts because these parts are going to be hidden underneath the seat. It'll just be a little bit more work sanding, but for the inside of the hull, I'm probably going to tape off the fillets just to make sure that I can easily clean them up and it keeps the surface looking really smooth and nice. But really, this is all I was planning on doing this weekend, is just getting this far. To get any further, I need to get some fiberglass tape, and that's going to be it. Hoping to get a little bit further on these boat projects than I did this weekend. I ended up spending way too much time messing around with my computer trying to get that working so I could design the sails, but that's kind of the way things go. I do actually have to have working equipment to run those calculations. I could do it by hand, but it'll be very difficult and time consuming. And it ends up being way faster and more cost effective just to buy a new computer. So now I'll have the right equipment to complete the project. So tomorrow the new computer should be arriving at my apartment. The day after, I should have the monitor for it. And then in about 4 days, I should have proper internet. I don't need proper internet to finish the sail design, so I'll see if I can do a lot of this after work. I do have to study for a test this weekend to increase the number of endorsements on my commercial driver's license, but that shouldn't really take up too much time. It should be a simple test, and cross my fingers and hope that I will pass. Well, it's the next day. I just got off of work a little bit early, so I have time to work on things. So let's check on my epoxy fillets on the boat I've been working on, and we'll see how the epoxy set up. So most epoxies these days are very tolerant of abuse. So when I mixed it with the wood flour, I did it here on this flat surface. Not so important on really small quantities of epoxy like this, but when it sets up, it is an exothermic reaction, meaning it gets hot, and it can get really quite hot. I've actually had paintbrushes that started smoking because I didn't transfer it onto a flat surface soon enough, but that was for a bigger project. For small stuff like this, I mixed it up and then put it on this flat surface, mixed it with the wood flour, and that's what I got. So you can see here, the epoxy fillet turned out pretty well on this piece. Definitely a little bit got where it shouldn't be, and that's pretty common with epoxy. It's really hard to keep it contained. You can also see a little bit on the outside here. How it gets out there, I have no idea, but I can just sand that off. It's no big deal. Epoxy is notoriously difficult to sand, but when it's mixed with a lot of wood flour like this, it's not too bad. So you can see here, the fillets turned out pretty nice. I have a little bit of sanding to do, a little touching up here and there. And on the other side of this seat here, you can see it also turned out very nicely. So now that these parts are glued together, this is still fairly fragile. That epoxy isn't all that strong, not without a fiberglass reinforcement on it. But before I put the fiberglass reinforcement on it, I need to remove all these wires. Before I do that though, I want to show you what just arrived at my door. I've been having trouble eating a healthy diet with the way I work. I just work too many hours. Lunch gets made about half the time, and so I end up having to buy food that just isn't all that great for me. And while the rest of my meals are better, I'm not consistently eating a healthy diet. Also, I'm spending a lot of time on the weekends doing grocery shopping, and I feel like I could better spend it working on projects like my boat design project, going on adventures, and just generally not grocery shopping. So here's what I did. So I signed up for a subscription to Hungryroot. They did not sponsor me or contact me in any way to do this. This is just something I did on my own because when I started doing the math, I found that doing something like Hungryroot or any of those meal kit services was way more cost effective, and I would get a much more varied diet, a lot higher quality food for roughly the same price as what I was spending on food already. The thing I liked about Hungryroot over a lot of the other services is being a vegetarian, a lot of those services don't have a lot of options for me. Hungryroot has tons of options. It's almost like shopping at Trader Joe's. In fact, I think a lot of the products are made by the same manufacturer. But anyways, I will have a link in the description below. It's more of an affiliate link, but really it's just going to help me pay for this if anyone clicks on it and signs up. You can check it out if you want. So here you can see the list of things they sent me. They provided 4 different recipes on the back here, and so each of these recipes makes 2 portions, and so that doesn't quite cover a week. I think I've changed that for next week, so I do have an entire full week's worth of meals, at least 5 days worth of meals, and then I'll do something else on the weekends because who knows what I'm doing on the weekends these days. So for recipes, they have a lot of recipes for things that can be made in under 15 minutes, which is perfect for me. That's about how long I spend making food every day anyways, so that's just fine. They do have recipes that take longer to make, but obviously I'm not going to order those because I don't have a lot of time. So this is what it looks like inside the box here. It is insulated and refrigerated. So you can see it's not just like a standard meal kit. These are just, this literally looks like something you'd find out of Trader Joe's with a different sticker on it. Some small cucumbers. A chopped salad kit. Some tiny amounts of banana bread. They offer a lot of different snack options as well. And they also have a surprising variety of these small desserts that are just like single serving, which I think is pretty cool. Here we have carrot cake coconut cookies. I think I found the dessert section. Just some standard good old tortillas here. Broccoli. So these are the types of kind of ready to go meals that they have. So in this case, it's just dal in a package. Again, these are things that you can find at the grocery store, but I didn't actually have to go to the grocery store, make the decision to buy them, and unfortunately for me, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Here we have some ready-to-eat overnight oats. So I actually eat these almost every day, different manufacturer, but I've had these before as well. They are very good, very convenient for breakfast. They are kind of expensive when you compare it to just making your own overnight oats, but when you don't have time to actually do that, these are amazing. Some braised lemongrass tofu nuggets. So one thing that they have going on right now is a deal where you get free kind of gifts, but it's just basically something that's a little bit higher quality that they add on to your meal kit every week. And in this case, this is what I got, some braised lemongrass tofu nuggets. Those should be really pretty good. So these actually might be the extra fancy protein that I ordered. I don't know. Brown rice quinoa blend. Ready in 90 seconds. That's my speed. So I don't actually have a microwave, but that's one thing that you can actually tell Hungryroot is what kitchen utensils you actually have in your apartment, and they will tailor your recipes for whatever you actually own. And down here we have a second layer. Let's see what we have. Oh, some sharp cheddar cheese, always good. Some egg bites. These are actually really good for breakfast. I've had something very similar from Trader Joe's. This is just the ice pack. What do we have here? And we have a pair of tamales. So that should be pretty good as well. When you're signing up, they do ask about your diet goals, and they just kind of estimate how many calories you need to eat, and of course all the other nutrition information to make sure that it's a healthy, well-rounded diet. I think this should do really well for the week. I'll let you know how it goes. But anyways, on with the video. So something exciting just came in the mail. Let me show you. Well, we have a box to start off with, and then a mouse. My old mouse on my old computer died, and more importantly, I have a Mac Mini. For the vast majority of things that most people use a computer for, I use my iPad Pro. There are just a handful of things that I can't do with it, and there's things that I wouldn't really do when I'm out on the road anyways, and I prefer to have my technology kind of isolated in some ways, so that it's not always with me. I think the Mac Mini will be a perfect replacement for my old 27-inch iMac. I have a display coming soon though, so that'll be tomorrow. And there it is. That's all it comes with. Thing is, I already have the keyboard. I'm going to get a much less expensive monitor. I don't need anything super fancy. The Apple monitors are nice, but they're way more expensive than they need to be. And so by the time I added it all up, it made more sense for me to go this route than like another iMac. So this is what I got. For now, I'm actually going to hook this up to the TV that I haven't bothered to sell yet. All right, so how's this for a setup? This is just an old TV that I'm using. It's actually pretty low resolution, but for now it'll work fine. Well, while my computer is busy updating itself, I'm going to start making supper here. So today we are having some black bean quesadillas with pico de gallo. It's pretty simple. Tortilla, beans, pico de gallo, and sharp cheddar cheese. This is Trader Joe's sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to use it first because it's older. They also gave me Andrew Everett sharp cheddar cheese. It's sharp cheddar cheese. So, obviously just going to use the old one first because I happen to have it here. And we'll make it how they suggest. I'd say this is about as simple as it gets. Beans, cheese, tortilla. I put another tortilla on top. And then throw it on the stove when the stove's warm. And then at the end, I put some pico de gallo on it. And there we have it. This is the quesadilla that they tried to get me to make. As you can see, I am a plating expert, and this looks amazing. It's probably going to taste great, though. It's the next day. I just got done with a 14-hour workday, so I'm pretty tired. I don't have a lot of time before I have to go to sleep. So let's see what the next meal on my Hungryroot recipe list is. It only has 3 ingredients, and it says it takes 13 minutes, but all of the steps just involve cooking things for 1 to 2 minutes on a skillet. So once the skillet warms up, I think we might be able to make this entire thing in like 1 to 3 minutes, something like that. I know to get everything perfect, I really should cook them separately, but I'm tired. I don't have a lot of time. And so let's just pull out the ingredients and see what happens. So here we have the braised lemongrass tofu nuggets. We have some broccoli, which I need to cut. And here's the dal. Well, apparently I didn't read the instructions well enough because you have to cook the broccoli for a little bit longer than 3 minutes, which actually kind of makes sense. But still, pretty quick. I'm not sure I'll be able to cook everything together. I'm probably just going to throw this in there because it's just tofu with seasoning, so it won't really change the texture too much, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And then we'll add the dal. Well, there it is. In theory, it should be done. Looks like the broccoli's done at least, and everything else just needed to be warmed up. So I think we're good to go. Half this, of course, will go into my lunch tomorrow, and half I'll eat right now. Well, look what just turned up. It's my monitor that I've been waiting for. I might actually have a little bit of time to set it up before I fall asleep. Well, here is my Scepter 4K resolution monitor. Basically, it was the cheapest monitor that met my requirements on Amazon, so there you have it. It's actually exactly the same size as the one on my iMac, my old iMac, except it has 4K resolution. There it is in full 4K resolution. It looks great. Obviously, you can't tell on camera because the camera has resolution as well, but this will be perfect. Now I just need internet. Well, I think that's it for today. I'm going to bed. I got everything I could done, I think, and we're on to the next day. It's been another 14-hour day for me at work, so time to make supper, see what this meal is. So just because of the time required, I think I'm going to go with the green chili and cheese tamales with sriracha. So this recipe couldn't be simpler. All you have to do is steam some tamales. You could microwave them if I had a microwave, but I don't. So I'm just going to steam these 2 tamales and then assemble the salad. That's all there is to it. Fortunately, I have this pot for steaming. I put enough water in there that it should be able to steam. It's not completely full of water, so it shouldn't take too long to get up to temperature, and that's all I need. While my tamales are steaming away, I have the salad all made up here. I'm out of dishes because I forgot to turn on the dishwasher earlier, so that is running, but I have these that I'm going to be using for dishes, and here is my tamale. Looks like it turned out pretty well. It's definitely hot. I don't know if I overcooked it, undercooked it, or if it's just right, but I think it just needed to be warmed up, and it's definitely that. It's nice and warm. But that's it for me today. Tomorrow, I get my internet installed. Alright, so today was the internet install day. It sounded like it was going to be more complex than it was when I got home. He actually got here early before me, which is a little surprising. But, so this is fiber optic internet. It's run to the building, so it was basically the same price as anything else, and it's blazing fast. So anyways, today's food is brown rice quinoa blend, some garlicky herb chickpea duo, and that goes with this vegan Caesar dressing, which should be interesting. There's practically no protein in this, but they sent me these savory spiced tofu bits, so that's going to be added as well. See how this turns out. I reread the instructions and realized I actually need to put 3 cucumbers with this as well. So that's where those are going. And there it is, the completed project. Let's mix it up a little bit here. Maybe that'll look better. I don't know, looks pretty good. And that was the last meal I ate this week. I would definitely consider Hungryroot a really big success. The food quality was really high and the meals were all delicious. It didn't take me a whole lot of time, so I had time to actually get other things done. Even when I was working those 14-hour days, I was still able to do something other than just eat and fall asleep again. I am using my new Mac Mini to do some editing, and it is incredibly fast between the internet speeds and just a much faster processor, having a full keyboard that I can use for shortcuts, things like that. I have to say it is a much faster, much more efficient process using the Mac Mini than it is using my iPad. I probably will still use my iPad for a lot of simple edits, but this Mac Mini was a success. My new food strategy has been a really big success this week. I did pass my test, so I now have a hazmat certification so I can haul hazardous materials, and that happened this morning. So my license has been upgraded and I have a lot more job opportunities now. The one thing that I haven't made any progress in this weekend is the boat stuff, but that will be moving along really quickly here now because I just ordered the fiberglass that I need, so I can continue this project and get that all wrapped up. It won't take very long once I have the fiberglass in place. I'll probably need a second table here because this just isn't enough room for me. And I do have another table in my storage unit, which I'm going to use for various things. This stuff is all going away. It's all either being sold, given away, or some things like that. Tape measure just kind of landed there. But in general, things are starting to move a lot faster now that I have the tools, and I'm freeing up some time to actually make progress on my projects again. But tomorrow I am going to be heading out on another bicycle adventure, which is really exciting. And if this video performs reasonably well, then I may try this vlogging format again for this next week so I can work on projects and show you what I've been doing during the work week.